Hi, welcome to a short overview of the newly released Message Management Suite. I say newly released depending on when you're listening to this recording. March the 9th, 2009 is the go live date of the general availability of the Halcyon Message Management Suite. Now, what I intend to do for you is to cover the main features and enhancements that we've added into this suite. Now, when I say features and enhancements, that's telling you two things. If I'm just covering the features, this may be the first time you've seen this suite. If I'm talking about enhancements, you may already be a Halcyonsoftware customer using our old message monitoring suite, and this is a direct replacement for it. So, what will we cover today? Going to start off by spending about 30 seconds, no more, telling you about the Message Management Suite, what it is and why we've decided to release it. I will show you the out-of-the-box monitoring and templates features that we have in there. I'll then touch on the message queue monitoring, and for those of you that have seen it before, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the changes we've made. I'll then look at TCP/IP monitoring, the job queue, out queue and device monitoring that we have within the product. I will show you how you can schedule event monitoring to reflect your business needs. There's an enhanced audit trail and security journaling feature as well, and this is a feature that a number of our existing customers have asked us for, and with the current climate with rules and regulations and proving who's done what, this is a very almost unique feature, but a very powerful feature that you can enable. Comprehensive reporting, we've built upon the reporting that we already have. And we have SLA and subsystem availability reporting. This is another direct customer enhancement that we've been asked for on a number of occasions, and we've designed a new system on reflecting your SLA needs and your subsystem availability needs as well. I'm going to show you how we teach Message Management Suite how to respond to situations. Quite old-fashioned, I like to call it automated operations. And then a fantastic feature for existing customers and new customers alike, the Enterprise Console, single dashboard view. There's a new release of this for people that are already using it. People that haven't used it before, this is just an amazing product that we're actually giving away with the Message Management Suite for the first time ever, and I'll show you that towards the end of the presentation, bringing all your monitoring needs together in a single dashboard view. Okay, now I'm going to make this very much an interactive demo, so I'm going to spend a lot of time looking at the software. So the Message Management Suite, what is it? Well, there's two components. There's a green screen that you can currently see, and the bit I'm going to cover towards the end of the presentation is the Enterprise Console as well, bringing all the results of your monitoring into a single dashboard view. The very first item was the Message Management Suite. What is it? Well, just mentioned two components. It is a direct replacement for the Message Monitoring Suite that we already have, and you'll see on our website for existing customers. There is a new section on our website now, so you can download legacy software for the old suite, or you can download our new enhanced Message Management Suite. This is the first of 4 suites. We currently have 4 suites available for sale on the I-Series. We are multi-platform. This is purely the I-Series I'm talking about today, and this is the first replacement of the first of 4 suites. As the year goes on throughout 2009, there will be replacements for all the existing suites as well. Now, the software is very easy to install. It's a simple download from the web. You can, if you wish, have it on a CD, you can have an ISO image, you can really pick however you want to have it delivered to you. When you download and install the software, you go through a series of steps. You click next, 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 and you install the green screen software. Then you can optionally install, but I would thoroughly recommend you do install the GUI front end, the Enterprise Console. That's all I'm going to say about that. Well, why is that? Well, 2 reasons. One, it's very easy to install. The main reason is there's a separate recording, a separate step-by-step guide on our website of how to download and install the software for first-timers, or if you just want a refresh as well. Now, this is the screen that you'll be presented with when you first go into the software. And all I've done here to get to this is a Go Halcyon. Now, the second step on the presentation, and I'll just jump back into the presentation to show you, out-of-the-box monitoring and templates. So what do I mean by that? Well, we like to make it easy. So once you've installed the software, this is the screen that you see. What I'm going to do is go straight into option 5, work with rules. And work with rules brings up the different sections that we're going to look at today. Now, if I do an F11, here's message queue, I can see that there's already 4 message queues configured. There's HMM FTP, this is for FTP monitoring on your i5. QHIST, now this is clever because QHIST is a log, not a message queue. We do real-time alerting and monitoring from there as well. QSys message, this is just IBM's best kept secret, which I'll mention in a few moments' time, and then Halcyonsoftware. Now you can add in as many message queues as you like. What I'm trying to get across to you here is this is out-of-the-box monitoring and templates. So you download and install the software. I'll press F11 here, next to Halcyonsoftware. There's loads of examples already in there. Now you notice they're all held. These are examples and templates. By simply doing a 6 to release these, for example, I've already done it against all inquiry messages. I'll do the same here. Backup's not completed. I can go for high severity messages. Okay, by simply releasing those, they go from held to released, or active I should say. I'm now automatically monitored for all inquiry messages and any high severity messages of severity 90 or above. And I'm also looking for a job called backups not completed. Now, I'm already monitoring for those straight away. If any inquiry messages appear, if any high severity messages appear, for example, there's an action behind those. They're going to appear on my green screen console. They're also going to appear on my enterprise console that I've installed. That's you up and running already. I'm just going to tab around some of the products to show you what we already have as examples. These are purely examples to get you up and running very, very quickly. You can add in as many as you like yourself. So I'll go back into work with rules. Now what I'm going to do here is actually do an F23 expand all, just to show you the examples and templates that we already have there. So under FTP queue, we can see the create directory, delete directory. QHIST, there's some examples in there. I will come back to these in a moment. Page down, QSys message, all critical messages. I say this is, say it again, IBM's best kept secret, and I'll explain why. Halcyonsoftware, some examples there. Then I get down to TCP/IP, which we're going to cover as the step after this. Then the output queue, job queue, and device monitoring as well. Okay, back to the main menu. They can see very quick to get up and running, get some effective monitoring and alerting set up and configured very quickly. I'm going to option 5 again, work with rules. First section I'm going to cover is the message queues. Now, these are the 4 examples that are already in there. You can add in any message queue whatsoever, whether it's a system message queue or a user message queue or a device message queue, or as I said, QHIST. Now I'm going to look at these 3 specialist queues first, and then I'll jump down to Halcyonsoftware. HMM FTP is in fact a Halcyon message queue, and as a direct result of customer requests, we've added this into our product. Now, by simply releasing these examples here, just by putting a 6 against it, anytime there's any FTP access on your machine, you can be alerted to that fact, or you can just log the fact. Entirely up to you. So you can see here I've got if FTP is used to create a directory or delete a directory. More commonly, if any files are received or sent, or any files are deleted by FTP, renamed, or any FTP command executed, I can log those. Now, if I just wanted to know any time that a file was received on the machine by FTP, I could simply put a 6 against this and release it. I could release that if I wished, and that would start logging that for me. If I wanted to be alerted to it, I could have it go into my green screen console, I could have it going out to my enterprise console, I could even have it sent to my mobile phone if I wish, if I classed it as important as that. I could run a command, I could call a program, I could do anything at all that any operation staff or admin staff sitting in front of the green screen could do, I can automate. Okay, have a quick look at QHIST. Now, you can add in anything at all you want in here. These are just some examples that we have in here. So we've got backup objects not saved. I'll just do a 5 to display that. Okay, this is the configuration screen that you get. This is common across all our message queues. All I've actually filled in here is one thing. I've put in the rule description, backup objects not saved. I've left all these as defaults. The defaults are, we're going to monitor 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for every instance of a message appearing. Now, if I page down, I can actually see we've got not a complex, but quite a strange setup here. I've got 2 selects and 2 omits. So I'm looking at QHIST, and what I'm saying is I want to select any time this message appears. And I want to select any time this message appears, but then I'm omitting it again. Well, why would I be doing that? I'll press F11, I can tab round. The 2 messages I'm looking for is backup completed, objects saved from this library, number of objects not saved. That's okay, I can understand why I'd like to pick that up as well. And then I've got this message as well. Very, very similar message. Then we have another variable, &9, number of objects not included. Well, I can understand why I'd want to monitor for that, but why have I got some omits? Very good question. Well, this is to just demonstrate the power of the monitoring that we can do for you. We've had a number of customers that said to us, I want to monitor for this message ID when my backup's completed. However, I know that sometimes I've got perhaps a couple of objects that don't get backed up because they're in use. So I don't want an alert to be sent to me saying your backup hasn't completed because a number of objects haven't been backed up, because I know that's okay. So we can put in an omit. I can tab round. If I come down to here and do a display, see, okay, I'm omitting this message ID. Hold on, I'm already selected it on the previous screen. Okay, here's why. So if this variable, &2 is equal to 0, so if 0 objects were not saved, I really couldn't care less. Now, I could also build that up and say if 1 object wasn't saved, or 2 objects wasn't saved, then don't bother telling me about it. But if more than those number of objects weren't saved, do tell me about it. Now, when I say tell me about it, what do I really mean? Well, I've taken an action here called action schedule. That's got 2 events in there. Send an alert to my green screen console. It's also send an alert to my enterprise console. How do I know? Well, I'll come on to that. There's an item I'm going to cover called scheduling event monitoring to reflect your business needs. One of the ways we can do that is using an action schedule. But let's go back a bit. Okay, so this is QHIST we're looking at. I'm also looking for password invalid from QSecOffer. Now what I'm saying there is, if somebody signs in with an invalid password, I'm not really that bothered. But if it's QSecOffer, then I am bothered. Now in this example, it's just a template. What I've said is, if all I've filled in here is this description, password invalid, when I page down, that's the message ID I'm looking for. I want to tab round, I'm looking for password from device, not correct for a user. Tab round again. Here's my job number. When I page down, I can see all I'm looking for is QSecOffer. I could just monitor for message ID CPF2234 and be alerted every time that a message appeared to say that an invalid password had been entered. But what I could do, if I go back to this screen and do a tutor change, I could be really, really clever. What I could say is, rather than just leave it as the defaults, I could say, if it's an invalid password from QSecOffer, 3 times within, let's say, a 15-minute period, then I want to know about it. Now that's how I mentioned I could emulate anything that an operations or admin member of staff would want to look at. If I was actually sitting in front of my screen 24/7 and I saw a message appear saying invalid password has been entered and it's from QSysOffer, I'm probably not that bothered. If I noticed it again a few minutes later, I might get a bit suspicious. If I noticed it 3 times in quick succession, in this case 15 minutes, I'd want to know about it. And that's now configured. You can see here, rules changed. I've now changed it to say, if QSysOffer enters an invalid password 3 times in 15 minutes, let me know about it. Totally emulate what I would do if I had the most boring job ever, sitting in front of the screen 24/7. Here's another example in here. Job ended abnormally. And again, I've changed nothing on the front screen. Very simple to set up. The only thing I've changed is the rule description. And all I'm looking for here is job ended abnormally, and I'm omitting if the ending code is 0. So if it ended normally, I'm really not bothered. If it ended for any other reason, in other words abnormally, I want to know about it. Now you'll notice again, I've got a single action down here. I've got a single action which is an action schedule, because that action schedule, if I wish, can totally emulate all the monitoring and alerting needs as determined by the business from a single action. Okay, let's have a look at QSys message. Now, I've mentioned this a number of times. IBM's best kept secret. Is it really? Well, I think so, yes. QSys message is a message queue that you don't actually get on your machine when you install IBM I or i5OS, whatever you want to call it. However, if you create that message queue, QSys message, create it in the QSys library, all the system critical messages will be sent to that message queue. Okay, so what are they then? Well, let's have a little look. Here's some examples. Serious storage condition may exist. Yeah, that's quite important. I'd quite like to know about that. Error occurred in disk unit 1. Yeah, I'd like to know about that. Well, what about this? Mirror protection suspended. Okay, well, don't these messages go to QSysOffer anyway? Yeah, you're right, they do. Now, what's really strange about these messages, though, if I take this one, for example, this message ID, it's informational. Now, what is quite strange about it is, it's probably severity 99. It's informational, goes to the QSysOffer message queue, and I use that magic key, F16, and I clear them. So I only look for the high priority ones, or the ones that I'm interested in. So I probably wouldn't see this. Now, mirror protection suspended on the disk, or if it's something like his RAID is lost a disk, I'm not particularly going to know unless I see this message, because my machine's going to keep on running quite happily until I lose another disk, and then I've really got problems. So these messages they get lost, if you like, when they're on QSysOffer. So if I create this message queue, QSys message, in the QSys library, all these messages will also go to that message queue. They'll go to QSys message. They'll still go to QSysOffer. You may see them, you may not. What's unique about QSys message is it doesn't get deleted, recreated, or cleared when you do an IPL, unlike QSysOffer. So all I've done here is, and I said this is already pre-configured, it's one of the monitoring templates we have. What I've said is, create that message queue, do a 6 to release, and that's an example of all the critical messages that I will get to that message queue and I want to be alerted to. But really, what I've done is made it even simpler, created one very simple rule. The only thing I've changed again, all critical messages. And I said, show me all messages that appear in this message queue, with the exception of a couple of Halcyon monitoring messages to say that we're monitoring your queue. Very, very simple to get up and running. Make sure you don't get caught out then. Okay, and QSysOffer. Just spend literally a couple of moments on here. Here's some examples in here. As I mentioned, all inquiry messages, all high severity messages, severity 90 and above. I'm going to pick those up when they appear, send them out to my green screen console. Well, that's a good way of getting up and running, not the most efficient way of using the software. Why do I say that? Well, that's going to highlight the messages to you. I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I'm a bit old-fashioned. Automated operations, I like to call it. I like to automate as much as possibly can, so the only messages I see are messages you actually need to do something with. So this is a great way to get up and running. But let me give you some examples of how powerful the software really is and how we really can emulate what a very experienced admin or operation staff, member of staff would do for you. Let's take something like this. All RPG error messages. Now, on this screen, all I've done is change the description. I want to monitor 24/7. And all I've said is, select any messages that begin with R* from the RPG message file and let me know about them. Now, I could be very, very specific. I could say, show me all the RPG error messages that appear. If it's from a job called begins, from a user, let's say it's Halcyonsoftware doing an install, and I could even go down to a particular program name if I wanted to. So it can be very specific or very generic, entirely up to you. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Well, that's okay. All I'm showing you there is examples where if a message appears, we forward it on. Not particularly clever, is it? I said I could do anything that an operator could do. Okay, well, let's look at this one. Okay, we've got a line failed or a controller failing, for example. Now, this particular line's failed. What am I going to do? What I'm saying is, the first 3 times it fails, I'm going to give it a retry. Because that's what I would do if I was sitting in front of the screen and doing it. The 4th time it appears, I'm going to cancel it, and I'm going to vary it off, and I'm going to vary it back on again. Because that's what I'd do if I was sitting in front of the screen and doing it. However, if I was actually doing this myself, I'd vary it off. I'd probably wait a minute, then I'd vary it back on again to give it time to vary off. Oh, great, I can do that as well. So I'm going to retry it 3 times, then I'm going to cancel it, and I'm going to vary it off, then I'm going to wait 60 seconds, then I'm going to vary it back on again. All this is doing is a reset rule that's saying, okay, start counting again the next time a different controller or line fails. Now, I'll give you another example. Now, this is something that rarely happens, but when it does, you're going to know about it. So let's say your system power fails and you're running on UPS. Well, how do you know? Well, it's a bit like the example I gave earlier when your disk fails. How do you know? Because your machine keeps on running. Unless you happen to be sitting next to the UPS or the generator or you see a message appear. So this is a message that you'll get. CPF 1816, system utility power failed. Now, if I actually saw that message appear, what I would do is I'd send a message out. I'd want to know about it. So in this case, I'm going to send a message out to a mobile phone. I'm going to send text. And it's actually going to an operations rotor to the on-call person. So notify you by mobile or cell phone immediately to say, look, the power's failed. Then, I'm going to, 5 minutes later, I know I've got a bit of time on the UPS, I'm going to send a message out to all my users saying the system's powering down in 10 minutes, please sign off. Then another 5 minutes later, I'm going to power downstairs immediately. Because that's what I would do if I was on site and I only had, in this case, and being very simplistic, maybe 15, 20 minutes UPS power. So that's fantastic, we'll automate that for you. So I'm going to tell you about it by mobile phone, because I'm probably at home in bed. I'm going to send a message out to the users in case anybody's signed on after 5 minutes, and a further 5 minutes going to power the machine down. Fantastic. Automated operations at its best, isn't it? Well, yes, I know. Now what happens if I send you a message and 2 minutes later the power comes back on again? Good old Halcyon automated operations is going to send a message, then it's going to pay your machine down. Not much use, is it? No, not really. It's not particularly much use. So let's have a look. That's rule number 905. Well, let's have a look at this one below it. Rule 906, system power restored. Again, put nothing in here apart from the description. Page down. System utility power restored. Okay, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to send a message out to the mobile phone again to say actually you don't need to bother coming in because the power has been restored. Okay, and there it is, power restored. The next thing I'm going to do, and I'm doing it at exactly the same time, no delay here, I'm going to close or stop the escalation of rule number 995. That was the one that actually told me that the power had failed. So I'm going to stop those escalations, which is exactly what I'd do if I was sitting in front of the screen myself. I wouldn't willy-nilly just power the machine down. I wouldn't bother doing that. I'd just say, it's okay everybody, away you go, you can keep on working. Here's an example of another very simple message. File is full. Again, change nothing on here apart from the description. Reckon that Andy, member file is full, just I. If that's all I want to do, I can do. So you can use it as a very simplistic system, that's okay. However, what you might want to do is have file is full, just increment it. But, as I mentioned previously, you can be very specific. So I could say file is full from a particular job or a particular user. Or I could say if file is full and the member is equal to HAL demo, in that case, only act upon it. Yep, I'll reply to it. That's okay, I suppose. Yeah, I'll just give it a reply. But what I want to do really is just reply to it with an increment the first 3 times. Okay, so I'll increment it the first 3 times. Then after that, I think what I'd like to do is don't increment any more of its HAL demo. I want to know about it. So what actions can I take? Well, there's lots. There's the action schedule, that I'll show you later. Close the alert, I can run a command, I can call a program, and take a console action, put it on the green screen. I think what I'll do, I'll come down to send text message. And when I send text message, it is actually a message full of text, strangely enough. I can say, let's have a look, bring up the messages. I can either send it an email, I can send it to pager if people are still using them, I can send it to mobile phone. So that's what I'll do. I'll actually send it to, well, I could send it to an individual mobile phone. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send it to the on-call rotor. So whoever's on call gets that message. Now in this case, if I get a message saying file is full and the member is Halcyon, I'm going to increment it 3 times, then I'm going to stop incrementing it and alert you to the fact by mobile phone. So you can either dial in, if you have to respond to it, or you can respond from your mobile phone. Now we'll cover that in a separate webinar, separate conference, whatever you like. But yep, you can actually respond to messages from your mobile phone if you wish. You can even send commands into the IBMI as well, from your mobile phone as well. Okay, there you go. And then we've got a catch-all here as well. So you install the software. Very simply, come into here, do a 6 to release, and a release all inquiry, all high severity messages. Could even do a 6 to release catch-all. I'm up and running very quickly. Then I'm getting some use out of the software. Then I can put in the specifics. Okay, that's message queue monitoring. Very briefly. Okay, even more briefly, TCP/IP monitoring. So same again, option 5, work for rules. TCP/IP. Oh, there's some examples in there already. I can expand it. And I've got 3 examples here. Now they're all going to be doing the same thing. Very, very simple to set up. So I'll just show you. Let's see, for example, okay, checked out the email server is active. All I've done here is change the description. Now on this it's slightly different. I've left it 24/7. However, and this is the default anyway, what I've said is check every 5 minutes. So ping my email server every 5 minutes. And if it's available, not really bothered. If it's not available, want to do something about it. So tell me about it. However, 5 minutes later, I'm going to check again. If it's still down, I'm going to tell you about it again. I'll check 5 minutes later, if it's still down, and tell you again. Now I know if my email server's down, I need at least an hour to look at it and try and get it working. So I'm going to say, if it's up and running, couldn't care less. If it fails, tell me about it. Then go to sleep for an hour and start checking again after the hour. So what am I checking? Well, I'm checking mail server 1, or I could put in an IP address. I can even verify it's active. I could do an F10, that will go away and check whilst I set the rule up to see if it's available or not. Another good use, check drive 5 partitions active. Exactly the same thing. All I've done is said, check the IP address of my second partition on the 570, make sure it's available. So I can have the i5s checking other i5s, they can be checking hubs or switches or routers, or what about this? Why don't we get the i5, which we know is one of the most reliable machines in the world, to check that all your Windows servers are up and running? Not a bad idea, eh? Okay, I told you that wouldn't take long. Neither will these. Output queue, device and job queue monitoring. Okay, so there's an example in there already. Again, they're held, so you can install the software. You can start it up. It won't do anything for you. It won't start changing things. It's only when you decide to release these examples that will start doing something for you. So that's what I can look for on QPrint or any output queue I want to add in. I said if I've got a backlog of spool files, so there's more than 100 on there, let me know about it, do something about it. If output QPrint is held, now all the rules can be time dependent. Now in this case I said if QPrint's held at any time, it should be released all the time, I want to know about it. There's the old suspend. Once you told me about it, go to sleep. Well, what I can say is, if I do a 2 against that to change it, I can actually say, I know that QPrint should be active between 0700 and 2100. So only check between those hours. If it's held between those hours, what I want to do something about it. Okay. Well, I can be told about it. Well, that's okay, but to be honest, I want to do more than that. So let's add in another action. So only check between those hours. I'm not bothered if it's held outside of those hours. And let's do a release out queue. QPrint. Okay, brilliant. There you go, all done. So now, between those hours, if it's held, between 7 and 9 if it's held, I'm going to tell you about it, but I'm also going to release it. Automated operations. I'm also going to look, another filter, another rule, sorry. I can check for spool files. Well, actually, spoof files, it says. You should say spool files being greater than or equal to 2,000 pages. So if any large spool files appear, I want to know about it. What I might do is do a hold spool file. Just take a command action, do a hold spool file. And tell you about it, so you can either delete it or do whatever you like. Okay, device monitoring. A couple of examples in here. Ethernet lines okay. Well, I might have more than one Ethernet line, so what I'm going to do there? What I'm going to do there is use a generic. So I'm looking for configuration status. I'm looking for all line descriptions that begin with ETH star. If they're not equal to active or varied on, I want to do something about it. It could just be tell you about it. It could be try and vary them off, try and vary them back on again. Retry that 3 times. If they still fail, then tell you about it. Automated operations again. Now, I can have any device type in here, and controller, device, line description, or any other device that you see there. To point this out, for example, network server. That also was a customer request. An existing customer uses our software, said, oh, I can look at controller, device, and line descriptions. Can I have the network server description in there as well? Of course you can, we said. Well, rather than just add that in, this is the attention to detail that the Halcyon development team have. Said, well, let's go a step further. Let's put all the device descriptions in there that people may want to use. Okay, now this is another good use of this. Check that TAP01's varied on, for example. Now this is good where you're sharing devices between partitions. So it may be that you know that on a Friday, 4 o'clock, you need to have TAP01 actually available on a particular partition. So on that partition, at Friday at 4 o'clock, I'm going to waken up and I'm going to start checking and I'm going to look at TAP01. If it's not equal to active or varied on, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about it before you go home. There's no point in you coming in on a Monday morning or getting Halcyon to alert you on a Friday night to say, I couldn't do your backups for you because the tape drive wasn't available, the cartridge drive wasn't available in that partition. Okay, and the final bit will show you the job queue monitoring. And again, it's just an example template that's in there, just to give you an example of what it can do. So we can check if queue batch is released. And again, we can be specific, so it could even be the opposite way around. It could be that I know at Friday night at 8 o'clock, the queue batch should in fact be held. So I'm going to check the status. If it's not equal to held, I want to do something about it. Yeah, I want to hold it. To get anything that you want to do, we can actually automate for you. I can also look for a backlog of jobs. In this case, I've said 10. All I've changed on the front screen is the description. I'm looking for, we call it depth. So if there's 10 jobs or more sitting on that job queue waiting to run, before you ask, that doesn't include held jobs. So if you've got held jobs on there, that's okay. If you've got 10 jobs waiting to run, it could be any figure you want to pick up to 99999, then I know I've got a problem and I want to do something about it. Well, what do I want to do about it? Well, do I just want to know about it, or do I want to go a bit further and perhaps move them? So I could do a command. Oops. That's hold the job queue, if I typed it correctly. I could perhaps hold the job queue. I could do a move job. Do whatever I do if I was sitting in front of the screen when it happened. Now here's another very useful feature we've been asked for a number of occasions, and we very regularly configure this. Jobs on queue for greater than or equal to 30 minutes. So in this case, I'm saying, look at all jobs on the queue. If they've been on there for longer than 30 minutes, I want to do something about it. I could be just very specific. Now, it might be I'm not bothered about jobs sitting on the queue. But if the jobs begin with JDE star, or perhaps they begin with payroll jobs, then I want to do something about it. I want to move them to another queue. Okay, whatever you would do if you're sitting in front of the screen yourself. Okay, so that's a very, very quick run through. Now, I keep mentioning an action schedule or schedule event monitoring to reflect your business. Now, I've given you some examples of how it can reflect your business needs by the fact that you can have certain times that you're doing the check-in, that the rules are awake, if you like. Now, I keep mentioning the action schedule, and a single action, all the examples and templates, single action, AS1, action schedule 1. Well, what does that do? If I go into the configuration menu, look at the action schedules, there's one in there, the example. I'm going to change it. What I'm saying is, 2 actions, 24 hours a day, console, in other words, send an alert to the green screen console, also send it out to the enterprise console. Now I can put anything I like in there. I can use a calendar, I can have a concurrent date or time range. So all I've got there is 2 examples, 24/7, send alert to the green screen console and the enterprise console. You wouldn't do both, you'd have one or the other. What I can do though, for example, I can say, well that's okay, however, what I would like to do is, let's have a think, what shall we do in here? We could say, if it's between 1700 and 1800 on a Saturday, and what I'd like you to do, I could send it out perhaps, I'd like to just close it. Actually, I'm not bothered. Between that time, I've got the machine down. Or certain subsystems that are down, for example. So I could say between those times, so 24 hours a day, green screen console, but between that time, just close the alert. So send it to the console, but close it straight away on a Saturday only. Now, I very briefly touched as well on the send alerts out to your mobile phone. You can go to an individual phone, it can go to a pager, it can go to an email address, it can go to a broadcast group, so it can go to lots of people in one go. It can go to your on-call rota. So if you change over, let's say for example you have let's say let's create one. Okay, demo. Okay, so let's say for example every 7 days at 9 o'clock you want to change over the sequence of who's on call. Come down here, I can say okay, ops phone 1 is on the call rotor. As is ops phone 2. Let's put them in here. There you go. So what we'll say is first of all, for 7 days, starting at 9 o'clock, starting on today, 9th to the 3rd, send all the messages or any alerts out to this phone. Next week, change it over to this. Next week, change it back again. So just different ways of scheduling who's alerted to which event. Okay, now I keep mentioning send alert out to the green screen console or to the enterprise console. Well, there is a green screen console if you still wish to use that. The alert log, and these are all the events or alerts that Halcyon's picked up for me and done something with. I can see here I've had some TCP/IP failures, quite a few in fact. I've had the file is full. Well, I wonder what's happened. Well, let's take something like file is full. And these are all closed, these have been dealt with. Let's have a look at this one. 10:19 this morning, file is full appeared, and it took 2 actions. Sent it out to the local console, and it sent it to the enterprise console as well. Now it's still open, so it must still be on there. So I'll go back to this screen, going to work with the alert log. Aha, it is, and there it is there on my green screen console. Oh yeah, and there it is up there on the enterprise console as well. So they're the actions that I've taken. Okay, well is that clever? Well, that's quite clever. Is it an enhanced audit trail? Not particularly. So we can go in here and we can see everything that's happened. So this is our audit trail and security journaling that you can turn on. And you can probably turn it on when it's installed. It's journaled very securely. You can restrict who's access to those journals, and this will show me everything that's happened within Halcyon. So I can see here, system message, console action was successful. It's also sent a message out to the enterprise console. And here's some work that we've been doing during this conversation just now. 902 is released, 901 was released. I've changed the output queue in QPrint in the output queue monitoring. There's a device and job queue. I've been into action schedule 1, been into call rotor demo, added it, then changed it. So I can see everything that's been happening, and it's journaled as well. I also mentioned comprehensive reporting. Well, again, from the main menu, going to the reports menu, lots and lots of reporting in here. So we can print message log. Okay, so we can go to a particular date, particular time, and we can either print all the messages off, or we can do it by product type. So we can have it, for example, from the event monitoring. So that's the job queue, the output queue, and the device. We can have the message monitoring, the maintenance messages, operational messages, system messages, whatever you like. Be as specific or as generic as you like. You can print the alert log off, print a list of all your rules. So you can set all the rules are set up, configured. Let's just keep a paper copy or a PDF copy of them, so I can prove to auditors what rules we've got configured. I can keep it as a change management system as well. Can print all the system defaults. There's a Halcyon system defaults. There's a network log. When you send an alert out to the enterprise console, it goes across the network. So we make sure we audit all the network actions. So if they fail, or if they're successful, or if anybody changes the destination, we can see that in there. Print user authorities. We can restrict authorities to particular areas of the system. So it may have operational staff. We can use all the functions, the configuration. You may want auditing just to be able to view them but not change them. Some examples that we have. Print the action schedules like AS1, for example. I also mentioned we've got SLA and subsystem availability reporting. Now, this comes from within here. What we have is we can actually turn on subsystem monitoring and say, monitor subsystems for when they're available. Well, isn't that just up and down time? Well, it could be. But if you go for 100% availability, does that mean that the subsystem should be up and running 100% of the time the machine's up and running? Possibly. Now, why possibly? Well, I happen to know, for example, I know a company I used to work at prior to Halcyon, that they classed 100% availability as 7 in the morning till 7 at night. So if all this reporting did was said the machine was up 24/7 but your subsystem wasn't, then it would be incorrect. You can actually configure subsystem by subsystem what you class as 100% availability. So this is great for outsourcers, managed service providers. It's great for proving yourself internally for individual companies, how available your machine's been. And you can generate a subsystem availability report and print that off or store that as a PDF. The next bit was to teach Message Management Suite how to respond to situations. And really that's an amalgamation of everything that we've been through very briefly in here. It's like saying, if the system power fails, send a message to notify somebody by mobile phone immediately. Then send a message to tell the user to sign off. Then power the machine down. Now, quite a bold statement, I'm going to make it again, is we can automate anything at all that you would do sitting in front of a green screen, we can replicate for you. Quite bold, isn't it? I think so. We've been in this game for a long time. This is our new generation software, totally rewritten for 2009. Why have we done that? Because we can. We've had lots of customer requests and enhancements. IBM have brought out some amazing APIs that have enabled us to make our software even more powerful. We do have, to stand behind that statement, we do have facility for you to say, okay, I bought the software, or I might be thinking of buying the software, and I want you to automate this for me, can you do it? And I'll show you right at the very end how you can actually ask us to tell you how we'll do that for you. And the final bit I'm going to bring up for you is this Enterprise Console. Now I could spend 3 hours telling you about this because it's an amazing piece of kit. It's much more than just showing you the results you're monitoring. I'm going to spend just a few minutes giving you an example of what it can do. This is your view on your world. So if you've got one i5 partition, you can use the Enterprise Console to see the results of your monitoring. Don't have all the alerts messages coming out here, that's pointless. Get Halcyon to automate all the operations for you on your i5. Just see the messages or alerts you have to make a decision about coming out here, or that you don't want to automate because that's your personal preference. Now hopefully this will be clear because there's nothing wrong with automating everything for you. However, if you've got more than one i5 partition, you might have 2, you might have 10, you might have 50, you might have, as a number of our customers have, in excess of 100. Well, can you imagine trying to sign on to every green screen individually, having 100 sessions, or even 10? Absolute pain. So what you can do is see the results you're monitoring here. This is purely talking about the Message Management Suite, however, on the i5. Halcyon are much more than that. We also have our own Windows monitoring product as well, the Network Service Suite, our own native AIX monitoring product. You can monitor SNMP devices. We are truly multi-platform. So in here, what I've got is all my IBM I, Power Systems, iSeries, AIX server alerts into the top panel, the Windows servers, SNMP devices, hub switches, routers, etc. into the middle panel. This is an example of the devices that we're monitoring. In fact, this here is the actual copy of the Message Management Suite that we're using, and you see there, live release of Message Management Suite, March 09. Now, to be able to see the alerts here, the action schedule, just say console, pointed to this instance of the Enterprise server. On the Enterprise server, all I need to do is add in the name and IP address, HAL525P1, and the IP address, and a description. It will automatically configure itself on the i5. That's all you need to do. You can then send alerts out to it, as well as to your green screen. It's totally optional. Now, all I've had to do is put my system name and IP address, but look at the information I've got pulled back. I've got the serial number, the model number, feature code, the operating system version, the PTF level, the environment. That's something I hadn't mentioned. With this release, you can have multiple environments. So you can install Halcyon, have it up and running quite happily. Next time a new release comes along, or you just want to try something, you can install another copy on the same machine or partition if you wish. Call it demo or test. You can try out what it is you want to try in there. Perhaps use it as a training exercise or a PTF upgrade, whatever you like. You can try that in a different environment and then apply it to your live environment if you wish. I can look at the IPL settings, date and time of the last IPL, last year on this particular partition, and it was normal. Real-time status on my CPU, and my disks, and my ASP, and my storage, how much memory I've got in there. I can then see on here, just go back slightly, the install products. And I can see, for example, system event managers on there, and message communicator, and the versions 065, the release today. Okay, each of the individual products as well. Now, when I send an alert to the Enterprise Console, I could look at it on the green screen. I would argue you get much more information on the Enterprise Console itself. So these are the different machines and partitions got. There's my i5, some Windows desktop PCs, SNMP devices, Windows servers. Got my main email server in there, my VPN server. Got one of the partitions on my AI Xbox, my iSeries. All these are monitored natively using Halcyon monitoring tools, all sharing the same Enterprise Console if you wish. So a message appears, reckon that Andy member Halcyon is full. On the green screen I would see that message. I can double click on here. That's the machine and the IP address it came from. That's the date and time it arrived. It's an inquiry message. Message manager picked it up. There's the message itself. It's a message from Halcyonsoftware. It's rule number 900. So it's one of my demo rules that's picked this up. And there's the second level help text. Fantastic. Well, on the green screen I could see that. I can see it all from here. Okay, now I know why that is, so I'm quite happy to reply to it. So I can either reply to it on the green screen, I could reply to it with my mobile phone, if I sent it out there, I can reply to it from here. Now, I don't want to cancel it or ignore, increment it, or I don't know. Well, I'll look at previous. Look at all the previous replies I've had to similar messages. Okay, yeah, that seems fair enough. I'll give it an eye. And away it goes. That will connect back onto the i5. It will reply to it. As long as it's successful, it will stay there, reply to it, disappear from Halcyonsoftware. In fact, if I jump back onto here, look at the alert log. Oh, it's closed. There's a message down there that's closed. Okay, well that's what it did. It sent it out. Went to both screens. Go into the message log. Ah, here we go. Look. 11:48. Reply I was accepted for that alert. Closed alert set to the Enterprise Console, so we know it's closed both sides, and the alert was closed. There's a bit more information. So I know the file is full and my green screen is closed, but who by? Well, it's actually closed by administrator on the PC. Okay, I know exactly who's done it. Full audit trail. Jump back on here. Okay, so that message has disappeared. Now what I could do, let's say for example, a message appeared and I thought, oh, I need to ask somebody about that, either a developer or a third party. What I could do is have this automatically forwarding those alerts on. Or I could just say, well actually, I need them to know about it. So what I'll do, I'll send the alert as an email. I'll send it out to people in here, send it as an email, send it to myself. Okay, and away it goes. Send it as HTML, or I can use the content and use variables to build up my own message description. What I can also do is, if I had a help desk system with an automatic ticket generator, I can send it as a help desk email with different variables. Again, you can do this automatically. You don't have to do it manually. I can have a rule at the Enterprise Console that says, send this out automatically into the help desk system as well. What is good with the replies, you can build up a knowledge base, if you like, for perhaps less experienced operators or new operators. Okay, I think that's about enough to cover at the moment. Just to say, it's a new release of the software. We've put lots and lots and lots of enhancements in there, either that we thought of ourselves or customers have asked for, or IBM kindly enabled APIs to enable us to improve the product for you. You also get this, the Enterprise Console. It's a superb piece of kit, superb piece of software. You get that for the first time. This has been available in all our suites, apart from the entry-level suite. You now get this included with this entry-level suite. Okay, so that's what we covered. But a quick mention of the message management suite, why we've built it, what it is. I showed you the out-of-the-box monitoring and templates that are in there to get you up and running very quickly. We looked at the message queue monitoring. Now don't forget the QSys message. Check if you've got it on your machine. If you haven't, create it in QSys. You get your critical messages going there. Then put Halcyon on top to pick them all up for you. We looked at your TCP/IP monitoring, your Windows servers, your hubs, your switches, your routers. even your other i5 partitions, to make sure they're all active. We looked at job queue, out queue and device monitoring. Automated operations. The message doesn't appear when you've got a backlog of jobs on your job queue. You can get Halcyon to monitor it for you. Remember we said about the device monitoring, checking if your tape drive is active before you leave on a Friday night on a particular partition. We looked at the scheduling your event monitoring to reflect your business needs. That's how do we tell you about it? Well, if something goes wrong or is about to go wrong, how do you want to know about it? Do you want it sent to your mobile phone? Do you want to send it to an email? Do you want it sent to your enterprise console? What about at weekends? What about when you change your on-call rotas? We can automate all that for you as well. I showed you the enhanced audit trail and security journaling as well. Comprehensive reporting. So many reports in there. Don't forget about the generate subsystem availability as well for your SLA reporting and your uptime. Gave you some examples of how you can teach Message Management Suite to respond to situations, automated operations. And then we finished off looking at the Enterprise Console. Now there's one more thing that I have mentioned. What I said was, we can automate anything at all that you would do if you were sitting in front of that green screen. Here's your chance, ask your experts. If you've got a pressing issue, or if you want to know how to do something, or if we can do something. Now here's one for you. Just have a think, next time the phone rings and you think, oh, not them again, or oh, I can't believe that's happened again. That's the sort of thing, put it in an email, send it to challenge@halcyonsoftware.com, and we will tell you 100% honestly if we can automate that for you. If we can't, we'll tell you. We're a very honest company. I'll bet we can. Anyway, it's a challenge for you. Thanks very much for listening.